Hi everyone, so this is a bit backwards, but I thought I would do an introduction video today. After my last video, I thought that it went so well that I thought I would continue doing this. So I thought I would just do a video just telling you a bit more about myself and what I want to bring to the YouTube community. So, by the way, I get very confused very easily, so I refer to my little book a lot because I have loads of notes. I like to be super prepared for these things. But anyways, on to me. Like I mentioned in my first video, my name is Chloe and I'm 20 years old. I'm a psychology student in my final year at university, though I've applied and I have an offer to do teacher training next year. But more specifically, primary school teacher training. And for those who live abroad and may not know, primary school here in the UK is between the ages of 5 and 11. More specifically, I want to teach between the ages of 5 and 6, though I'm willing to kind of expand. I don't want to limit myself just yet. I'm from Wales. Wales is not a part of England, before anyone mentions that. There's a rivalry between Wales and England, which you'd understand if you're from Britain, but I don't think that's something I want to go into right now. As a person, I love horror, which is a bit of a shocker for, I think, many people who know me, because I'm so quiet and quote-unquote innocent. They wouldn't really expect that from me, but I remember going to see The Woman in Black back in the cinemas before I was even 15 and being scared out of my mind. But I've been dating my boyfriend for over a year and a half now, and he's a film student at heart, and he loves horror films, so he's been introducing me to kind of all the classics and stuff like that. My favourite horror series, I've got to say, is A Nightmare on Elm Street. I think Freddy's a great character, and that's one film that, the first film is something I come back to over and over again. I love Child's Play, I love Chucky, full stop. But one film that does freak me out a lot is The Candyman, which I think's not as well known as, say, like A Nightmare on Elm Street or Friday the 13th or Child's Play or anything like that. My boyfriend's even has even persuaded me to watch the first Saw film, which is one film I swore I'd never watch, but that turns out not to be too bad either. I also love paranormal stuff. Anything to do with ghosts. I love watching Lois Lane, Hayley Reese, Britty 44. I also love watching Harmony Nice's paranormal story times, although I love more than just that with Harmony Nice. She's one of my favourite YouTubers. But more specifically, I love the idea of haunted dolls. And as you notice in my last video and here, I have a porcelain doll who is called Snow White. She was given to me by my nan. My nan has a collection of not haunted but porcelain dolls. Well, she has a bigger collection that she would have displayed in her guest bedroom and her main bedroom. And as a little girl, she would always introduce me to all of the dolls, which I never had an issue with, honestly. But she also holds our family's annual Christmas party, and we'd always stay the night. When the adults were still downstairs a few years ago, me and my sister were laying and talking on an air mattress in her main bedroom. My sister bolts out of bed and runs downstairs crying, and I didn't understand why, so I followed her down. This is before I was into haunted dolls or knew they were a thing. But when I got downstairs and asked her what was wrong, she said one of my nan's dolls had waved at her, and my sister doesn't believe in anything like that, so it proper freaked her out. after that, anytime we went over there to stay, my nan would kind of put the dolls away, but then when we left she forgot to put them back again, so she sold a bunch of them. But she let me choose one of them, and I chose Snow White. I felt a bit of a calling to it, and I don't think she's haunted as far as I know. I would love an actual haunted doll, but living between university and my family home, my parents wouldn't like anything like that in the house, which is understandable, I guess. So I do intend to purchase like a haunted doll, like when I move out into a place of my own, but who knows if that would be haunted. But then one of my favorite haunted doll is Annabelle. So I got this Raggedy Ann doll because the Annabelle doll was a Raggedy Ann doll. It's not the same one, and I think this one's homemade, but it's still pretty old, and she sits on my bed despite her making me sneeze every night because the yarn hair and my allergies don't really go well together, but I don't care. And going back to the whole horror thing, I also like horror games. One of my favourite, yet the most cliche, is Five Nights at Freddy's. So I have this Foxy doll. Foxy's my favourite one of the lot. But then yesterday I was just doing my shop, and to my surprise I found a whole bunch of Five Nights at Freddy's kind of plushies. And one stood out to me, and that was a puppet doll, which I think is quite freaky but also quite cute. I don't know, what do you guys think? I really like that one. So yeah, moving on from the kind of paranormal stuff to like my practice, I am a witch. Well, I've been into paganism since I was about 17, and at first I came across Wicca, and at the time that resonated a lot with me, the whole harm no one and the kind of idea of worshipping the old gods. But over time my views on the kind of harm no one changed, especially when it came to kind of justice reasons. Like, it's kind of a grey area for me, and although I really want to work with deities, at the moment it's not my top priority. I've got other stuff that I want to do. So I say for now I'm a witch contemplating Wicca. My favourite crystal is hematite because I think everyone has a favourite crystal at this point. I am especially interested in the Fae. I don't know if I've ever come across them personally. I think one of the things people tend to experience is the kind of music, and I think I experienced that within my last year of uni around Samhain. So I'm yet to make up my mind whether that was fairies or whether that was just my imagination because it was quite late at night. And as a witch, I don't actually practice that many spells or rituals because being a student, there's limited money to get supplies for one, and although you don't need like a ton of stuff to do spells or rituals, space is also an issue because I live with other people who aren't into this, so it's kind of a bit difficult for me to practice. Though saying that, I do have a pagan society. Well, I don't own it, but I go to a pagan society at my university where I get to mingle with people like me, and I get to like learn more about different areas. But one thing I find is easy and alright for me to do is divination. My favourite form is pendulum. It's quite easy, and I've got quite a few pendulums now, and I've been practicing working with my oracle deck. But what I really want to get into more is my tarot deck that I've got, but I've been doing some research on how to interpret those, so it's just down to practice at the end of the day. Sigils is a new thing that I've been practicing. As I said, I want to become a teacher, and I don't know if you know anything about teacher training in England, but you have to pass a professional literacy and a numeracy test. The literacy was fine, no problem, but I was practicing the numeracy test, and I don't know, just everything I knew from school has gone. So I practiced all I could, but I still didn't feel too confident going into the test. And I drew a sigil on myself to pass, and lo and behold, I passed it, thank God. But I find sigils tend to be something that works quite well for me. I think that's everything I had to say about myself in particular. But if you want to move on to why I want to do this channel, as I said in my first video, as someone who's been in academia as long as I have, and as someone who wants to continue on, albeit, you know, at a lower level, misinformation really annoys me. Like, I don't think there's any kind of need for it, and especially in like the online pagan community, because there is no like authority or governing body. So while this can be good in the way that people can practice however they want, when it comes to people teaching others, there's a lot of room for misinformation being spread, and there's no authority to deal with that. So I personally want to come and combat this kind of thing like I did in my last video, and not just Azure, but like any other kind of misinformation that I see out there that's presented as fact. Because I don't have an issue with people sharing their own experiences or UPGs as long as they state them. But when they don't, people take them as kind of historic, credible facts, which is wrong. So I want to do those in my kind of tea spills. But then I also wanted to bring something else to the table in talking about folklore and stuff specific to Wales, where I'm from, because I don't see a whole lot of that about. Like, I'm shortly going to start a series about the Mabinogion, which is it's a folklore in Wales, and I was just going to make one video of it, but doing my research I realised there's so much I could do an actual series, so I'm going to cover that as well. And I'm also going to do educational videos, just as I'm learning myself, and I include any kind of credible sources that I come across, like, and I'd make sure people know the difference between my experience and proper, accurate, credible sources. And then I'd also do any little random videos, like if I go on holiday or if when I graduate, you know, just like little kind of life stuff. But yeah, I think that's all I really wanted to say today, so thank you for listening. And I will see you when I do my first Mabinogion video. Bye guys.